things we do for ourselves. Like when I first started being an entrepreneur, I stopped caring for myself. I'm this thing where like I love to get my nails done and, kind of do like this pampering thing, like my hair or like, my eyebrows or everything. I literally stopped doing those things. So I stopped loving myself because I was just so busy. But it's like, no, it's those little things that you need to do for yourself to give you that back. Yeah. To give you that focus back, that energy back, that excitement, right? Or
you
even
have to treat yourself.
Yes.
And not feel guilty about it.
Hey everyone, this is Reyna Torres and we are Women Creating Magic, and I run my own studio, and I decided to start this podcast so amazing women can sit down comfortably with a cup of tea or a glass of wine to relax and have an open conversation about their experience as women in the entertainment industry. My next guest is Monique Vargas, an ambitious entrepreneur who has 2 successful businesses in Southern California, Uptown Vibe in Whittier and Mamba Fitness in Pico Rivera. Please welcome Monique Vargas.
So, how did this all come out? By the way, Monique but she runs 2 businesses, which is Uptown Vibe and also Mamba's. Yeah. Yes. How did you start it? Like, where did this start it? Like, what made you want to do this and take control and take a leap of doing what you're doing?
Well, I've always been in the business of helping, right? I love helping people, which I came to realize in the business I'm doing now. I was in the medical field, and
which is crazy. Same here.
Yeah.
So you realized you love helping.
Yeah, like helping, right?
Yeah.
And it was funny because you have a mom and a dad, and one wants you to do one thing, and the other one wants you to do something.
What were you doing before as a medical field?
I used to be an ultrasound tech.
No, all the babies?
Yes.
Wait,
everything.
It's
like baby, it's OBGYN, it's abdomen, it's your abdomen, it's breast, it's
oh my God,
testicles,
quick,
everything.
I'll tell you a little quick thing. My daughter, when we did it the first time, she was flipping us off.
Oh, no way. That's cute. I love that.
She was laying like this, and she was doing this.
And then you can see the finger.
She was doing this, and I was like...
Yeah, like, I could see her personality already coming in.
Yes. But that's cool.
Yeah. So I loved it. And then I went into case management, which was helping patients with chronic diseases like CHF, diabetes, and all that other stuff. And you're helping them, but there's just so much you can help them with, right? And not just even in their health because they were already sick, but just in the health industry in general. It's like they just kind of give you, like, as soon as they see that you're advising other than like what's in the books, it's like, no, you're doing it wrong. So it's just like, then it kind of unfulfills you, right? It's just like, okay, but I know this would help. And then it was like a wall you kept hitting. And I did it for 5-6 years. And then during that time, I got into this field. I did it part-time at first. Which is the health industry, like Herbalife, helping people get healthy.
Yeah. Which is funny because same thing here. When I would do for not just optometry but ophthalmology, a lot of patients would come in and be like, I have high pressure, I can't see, I'm pretty blind. I was like, because you're diabetic. Because you're not eating healthy. Like, you should, like, consider doing these other things. And it's sort of like the doctor would be like, well, they also need to take their medication. I'm like, they can actually, I was just
not
like,
take the
they
medication.
They can take it now because it's severe, but they need to work their way of like, what do I need to do in order for me to get away from the medication? Because there's a bunch of stories and people that are like, yeah, I used to do this and this is what happened, and guess what?
And now there's something worse happening to them because of the medicine.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how I saw it. I was like, I'm medicating this, or we're saying they need this, but you're coming in because you have a headache. Okay, well, why did you get the headache? And then you're kind of, they explain the routine. Oh, okay, you're not having enough water. You're dehydrated. Sometimes, it's because you haven't had enough water intake, or, just different things that when you actually listen to people. Well, in Herbalife, that's what I started doing, right? Like, I would listen, and then later on it would change something overall. It would change not just your physical health, but it would change your mental health. And it started changing, who you were, how you started thinking, how your outlook on life, like more positive, know. And I was just like, wow, this is a field where I get to touch not just your health, but spiritual, physical, mental health. And I did it super part-time, and then eventually, you start getting unfulfilled. So it's like, which one is it, right? Like, and then you get exhausted. You have your job full time, and then you have your, what you love, and you're doing it super part time. And it's like, then you go back like, well, I have bills, I have things to pay, I have a lifestyle I like, right?
When you love buying clothes.
Exactly. And I was obsessed with shoes. I still am.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, that's right, you are.
Yes,
I always see you in good shoes. That's right.
So I'm just like, okay, I would have to like, because they always say you work to pay your bills, but then you do your fortune to fill your purpose, right?
Yeah.
And then so I hit a wall when it's like, okay, which was insane, the pandemic hit, and I was like, this is my time. This is my time to put away, to pay off anything I own, right? I kind of wanted to do it like where I didn't want to owe anything but like our immediate bills. And I was like, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to like, I literally had to like just sacrifice. I moved back in with my mom, like just those little things, and I think we have to kind of talk to ourselves and see it as not a loss in that moment, but like a more, like, is my purpose more fulfilling for me here or to live this lifestyle for a little bit right now?
And who are you doing it for?
Exactly.
Because you're not doing it for yourself.
You're not doing it for yourself.
No.
So then just moving back in with my mom and, just completely, like, changing my lifestyle where, like, it was like, oh, I can come here, I can spend here, I can, I live by myself, like... it was completely different to going back home, living with my sisters, like, not spending how I used to, being more purposeful and like what I'm doing, the intention, right? And so I did that, and then I was able to open Uptown Vibe.
Yeah, you have to literally be like, okay, I am not purchasing that, even though I really want to. And you go to the stores and you're just like, but you're like, no, there's a bigger purpose to it. Yes. Yeah, and it's hard. And it's hard.
It is hard. And a lot of people don't want to face that hard. It's like, damn, I'm really going to let go of all this right now. But I think what I had to sit down with myself and be like, this is a right now feeling. What about long term?
Yeah.
Like the right now feeling that I'm going to sacrifice for a little bit, is it really worth the long term that I'm gonna have, or the change I'm gonna make, or the purpose? Because again, everybody's purpose is different, and mine was helping people. Like I was in a position where I didn't even know I was depressed. I didn't know I was overweight. I didn't know I was unhealthy, right? And so I didn't even know I didn't love myself, right? Like
that's
we
come to a lot of us do that.
Exactly. So it's like, wow, this purpose that I found, I can teach other people. It may not be the way I did it, but it would be in their own way.
Yeah.
And just leading them to that and like doing it here, I had to make a decision because I was still trying to work and then do my purpose, right?
It's not the easiest.
It's not. It was insane.
And then it's funny because you see the overweight. And you see for some reason, your 9-to-5 job, you actually see all the negatives. And the negatives are weighing, and you're just like, wait, this is so much more better.
Yeah.
And then even though the place you were working at, you cared for it, not loved, you care about it, you still, like, your mindset was like, well, this is not good. Like, this is, like, another negative thing and another negative thing, to the point where you're just like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, my mentality is telling me, like, I cannot go this direction anymore.
And it's crazy because, I mean, I love my job. Every day I was like, okay, I'm grateful for it. And I love the people I worked with. I really loved it. And then just to, like, the day where I was just like, I think what kind of hit for me is, like, I've always been a great worker. I think I would say, like, I'm a great employee. And I'm also a great, like, open-minded person where, like, I would offer more to the team. I was always like, I could do it, like, this type of person, right? Like, right? Because it wasn't just, oh, I just went to work and got paid and bye. It was more like, what do I bring to the table? I cared. Like,
your work ethic is way beyond that. No, I know
so then I think one day I got in trouble for, again, because I was doing both opening Uptown and then, all the sacrifices, like, I was just, like, insanely.
You're everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, you're
it was
split
insane.
in so many different ways.
Exactly. So I think I finally, like, I would cry and kind of like, God, like, what do I do? Like, just give me a sign, like, any direction, like. And I had gotten in trouble for something. I have never, like, messed up, right? Like, not messed up in a sense, like, never made mistakes, but in my job field, I feel like for what I really made a mistake for wasn't necessary to treat me the way they did.
Okay.
So it was just like, wow, I made this little small mistake and all my good work wasn't even to shit. It was like if I've been working for shit for 4 or 5 years for them. And I was just like, no way. Like, one small mistake and I'm just like, I was just like, I think this is it. Like, I think, like, I'm, they had me on probation for a couple weeks, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is my, me putting myself to, this is my purpose for somebody else. Like,
and then other people, other coworkers, like, do more shit, and they don't get like this.
Like,
and
exactly.
You're just like, I don't
like,
get
wait,
this.
what? I'm so confused. I'm like, wow, is this how much I love myself?
And then you realize, all this effort that I'm putting into this, I can actually put it to here, what I love. And now I have nobody.
It gives me the chills. Yes.
No, because that's exactly how I felt when I quit my job, and I was like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, you can. It's like, wow, this is how much I love myself. Like, it comes to, like, a self stuff. Like, this is, like, we can wake up every day, and people say, like, tired, but sometimes it's not even that we're tired. We're so unmotivated because we're not doing what we actually love. Like, we're just doing it because we need a paycheck, and then we got things to pay, and it's like, but it's like those little things that, like, where you have to talk to yourself, right? So I literally, like, I was at Uptown, and we hadn't opened yet. No, we did. We were 3 weeks open, and that's why I made the mistake, because I was trying to run my shift and then, like, work, right?
Yeah.
And I think I just, like, I was like, you know what? I can't do this to myself anymore. Like, I have to,
You feel like they're both suffering.
Yeah.
They're both suffering. It's not just one or the other.
Exactly. It's kind of like when I went back to be in the medical field, my dad wanted me in business and my mom wanted me in the medical field. I was trying to make both parents happy. Again, forgetting about myself.
Yeah.
And I was doing both. I was doing medical field at night and then business in the day. I was suffering in both. I was lacking both. And if I paid attention more to the medical field, I lacked in this one. If I paid more attention to business, I lacked the medical field.
And guess who's suffering?
Me.
Yeah.
And nobody else, because we're always trying to make other people happy, right?
And it's funny, as women, we have to go through this whole shit before we actually realize, like, oh, you know what? Like, I really need to step away from this. This is, like, really messing me up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like we don't realize the own pain and trauma and anxiety we give ourselves.
Yeah. Until, like, to the last minute where it's like, nope, not anymore. We got to get away from this.
Yeah.
Or sometimes some people don't get away from it, and then they just live through it, and it sucks because they're never gonna get, like, that aha moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I sent an email out that day that, to my bosses, like, give me my 2 weeks, and I just started crying. So it's like, no way, like, I've, worked since I could remember.
Yeah.
And I'm actually choosing me. I think the fear was the fearsome, where, like, the crying is like, I'm actually choosing me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not choosing nobody else.
No.
I'm not making nobody else happy. I'm making myself happy.
Yeah, you're
and
your
I
own
went
boss.
with it. Yeah. I went with it. I have a year and a half without working for anyone but myself.
Good.
Yeah. And it's been crazy.
It is crazy.
It's been so crazy. It's been, I think my first year was me crying. I even questioned like, wow, did I do the right thing? Even more sacrifices than I had to do before. It's like, okay, now I have an overhead of a whole place, right? Figuring out how to be a boss, right?
You're the main honcho.
Yeah, but it's just like, it was...
It's like...
nobody teaches
you to be a mom.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. When you're an entrepreneur and then you're your own boss, nobody tells you, like, how to do it. Like, nobody really it's like... It's funny. It's like you go to school... You get certified, you get your degrees, but nobody really tells you, like, okay,
how to live life.
This is how it goes. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, I have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, so I need to, like, okay, cool. Okay, so what do I do?
Yeah. It was insane. It was just like, figuring out the whole being an entrepreneur full time. Like, people think it's easy, but
and you're a woman.
Exactly. And it's just like...
if it was you and a man and you go up to, like, introduce your business, who do they think it's going to go to? Right. Like, oh, no, it's actually hers. Yeah.
And just being that uncomfortable person, right? Like, it's like going out there by yourself, talking to people I don't like to say I'm a, introvert, but I feel like I in a sense, I was, because I was selective. Yeah. But then now it was like I had to I had to throw myself out there.
You have to be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. And just coming here and like marketing with people and talking to people, it was it was so scary.
Literally, people need to know, like, if you're gonna have your own business out there, one thing that nobody tells you is that they say it, but non-specific. They always say you're gonna step out of your comfort zone. Okay, your comfort zone means sometimes you're going to have to talk to people in situations where you're like, I don't really want to talk, or I don't have the energy to talk to someone today, or it's like, do I really have to? Like, I'm going to fuck up. I'm going to, like, mess up. Like, I'm going to stutter. I'm going to, like, this is not going to work out. That's what they don't tell you. Like, yeah, you're going to be out of your comfort zone, and your comfort zone means this is what's going to happen. Yeah. And that's what happens. Sometimes for me and Anthony, we're going to network, but we're not, like could definitely talk to people, and I come off like, oh yeah, she's probably like talking to. No, I actually like to be in my house, in my bed, watching Netflix.
And I like to be by myself, probably hiking or being in nature. That's like my thing.
Oh, beach thing. No, that's my thing. Yeah. I literally will, like, in my car, I have like my everything that you can possibly think of have for the beach. I have it in my trunk, and I would just go to the beach, chill, get my book, have my food, and just chill and be like, leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's so uncomfortable for people that like to be by themselves to be out there.
And being an entrepreneur is the opposite of that. It is weird because it's kind of both. It's kind of a balance of both, if you kind of think about it, because you're out there talking to everybody, but when you come home, you're on your own. On your business, you're kind of on your own, you know? Like, even if you have people under you, at the end of the day, they leave. Where are you? You're still there. Right. Because you're still trying to make sure everything goes well.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's true.
And you work harder.
You do.
You work harder. When you are your own boss, you are working more than what you did before. I
know. People think it's, like, easier, but I'm like, no, it's hard to run a schedule. It's like you wait, like, it's like, I think the first time I was used to, I was a great part-time entrepreneur because it's like I had a schedule, right? It's like I wake up, go to work, and then clock out, then I get home and do my entrepreneurship, right?
Your work gave you a schedule. Your work is like you have to work this because you get paid, so you have to. So your mind, you're motivated, it's like, I have to do this. But when you don't have something like that,
it's so much harder being your own boss. It's like you're 20. As soon as I wake up, even when I go to sleep, I'm thinking about all this, and it's like, and I think the hardest thing, at least for me, was that, like, wow, if there were bad days, I still had to show up with a great smile the next day. Like, I couldn't show people what I was going through, right? Because then people would call you weak. People say you can't do it. You can't figure it out. People start questioning you. So then,
I'm like, people, do you hear this? Do you hear this? What she's saying? Like, that's exactly what we all go through.
No, and I think that's sad that we're not able to be loud about that, because then then people put their fears in our thoughts, and then we're like, wow, maybe we're not capable of it, right? So it's just better off just keeping it to ourselves. So it's just like, no, because then 1 year, 2 years, 3 years are going to tell me what I can't do, and because I'm going through something, I'm going through this whole new journey of just trying to live in my purpose, what I believe makes me happy. Just because I'm doing that and everybody else is scared, they'll put that on me, say, well, we told you so. We told you not to do it. We told you it wasn't a great job. We told you not to leave what you went to school for, right? Yeah. So it's like hearing all that, and then you hear it because people are like, I think it wasn't so long ago, maybe, and because we don't know better, right? That's what we're taught. I think, like, I don't know, maybe 8 months in, my mom's like, so when are you gonna go back to work? And I'm like, what do you mean, Mama? How older? Or like
I have a place. Yeah, like, people know me. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But I'm like, I think we're just we're so used to the world working different.
Also, being Hispanic and coming from Hispanic parents, they think that when you are doing your own business, they think like, well, that's not gonna make you money. Yeah. Like, you legit need to either go to school, get something that's physically, like, you can go in there and then they're paying you. Yeah. That the company's paying you. You know, if we're doing anything, the only time they'll accept it, which, it's funny, I have a conversation with my friend German. He says the only time it's accepted is that when you're making money, the business is striving and you're making money, and then that's where, like, oh, mi mijo or mi mijo, their business is like, oh my god, they just got themselves a casa over here and this and that, and it's like all of a sudden, mom and dad, now you're talking about me.
No, it's great, and that's what I think everybody's like that. Like, even you know, your friends, your, you know, your closest relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
usually
everybody sees it until
yeah.
you start seeing, until they start seeing a result, that's when it's successful.
They're like, oh, wow,
yeah.
look at her. She's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like, it's sad because it's like, no, our results is the hard work. It's the journey going through. That's just a bonus point. Honestly, I think the best thing that, like, maybe last year I took it a lot for granted. I was just like, what am I doing to myself? Like, why am I crying literally every day? Like, every day I was just like, I don't want this shit anymore. Like,
yeah.
I was almost giving up every day. And then I came this year, maybe even a few months ago, where I'm just like, dude, I should be so grateful because there's things that I couldn't do before that I could do now. Like, yeah. I know how to do so much more with my mind. Like, at work, it's like a routine, and I was on autopilot. And then now I'm just like, wow, I actually get to think, and I get to use my mind, and I get to help someone else do that. I have a great team.
You push your limits.
Yes, it's like we think we can. Like, the other day I was reading a post on social media, and it said that a school teacher got fired because his class was too hard for students. And it's like, what have we, like, what do you
I did see,
like, that's amazing that it's hard. It challenges you. It's like, it's not that it's hard, it challenges you. A challenge is amazing. It's exactly what we need. And I think there's so many people just scared of a challenge that we stay where we are. So I get so excited to see people like you and us, like, throw ourselves out there, even if it is a challenge and we're falling apart and we're crying and you know, we're wanting to give up every second probably, and I just think that's part of it. It's okay to want those, and it's just reminding yourself that it's worth it.
It is worth it. It is. It's not easy. It's like the hardest thing ever. I think one of the things that I've started realizing is I can't go back to a 9-to-5. That's the thing. That's a lot of us in this position. We think about it and we're like, no, I can't. Even if you're like those moments of you're giving up and you're like, I'm sure you thought of it. We're like, well, if I do go back, I mean, I still have the experience. I can still get a 9-to-5. I can work. But then you're just like, but then I'm stuck working for someone else. And then I'm not sure. Money's great, but I don't know if that's really what I want to do. Yeah. And those are the battles that we all go through.
Every day.
Every day we go through it because we're just like, we just want comfort. Yeah. Comfort.
And it's sad that, like, when we can't go, like, or we do decide to go to comfort for someone, they're just like, well, you know, you could go back to work. And then you think about it and you're just like, I could go back to work. But then it's just like, well, why would you say that? Like, better... And that's why, again, we do it with ourselves.
That's weird because when you're talking to someone who works a 9-to-5 compared to, like, if we talk, I would be like, well, what do you need to do to push? Like, do you need to do any promotions? Anything I can help you for us to collab so it can push out your business? Like, that's so strange, right? Those relationships. Exactly. Because us talking would be a whole different conversation. It would be me pushing you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think I've learned that it's like, through this whole journey, it's like, get advice from people that you can relate to or want something that you, or you want something they have, right?
Yeah, that's funny. We were talking about podcasts, right? And how they talk. That's one thing that I do agree in a lot of what they say is that your circle of friends is what you do. So I need to have more friends that are entrepreneurs. Yeah, because we think alike.
Exactly. Yeah, or someone that's further than you in entrepreneurship. Like, go to them. Like, what did you do? How did you overcome these things? Or, like, you know, just
they went through it.
Yeah, they went through it, and then take whatever works for you and do it in your own way. Like, you know, and I think that's amazing. Like you said, if I went to someone that had a 9-to-5, they'll be like, well, you know, you have a degree still. You can use that, and it's just like, what do you mean, give up everything I just went through? It's like, what do you mean? Like, right? So it's
not to say people that work 9-to-5 is a bad thing. It's not. You know, like, it's a conversation I had with Anthony. It's like, I'm not trying to shit on anybody that works 9-to-5. Like, that's what they love to do. And if they're fully, like, satisfied and they're like full in their heart in regards to what they're doing, that's great. That's amazing. But there is just unique people that are just like, that's not enough.
For me. Yeah, that's not enough. It doesn't fill my cup. Yeah, exactly. No. And I totally agree with that because my husband, for example, he works for Northrop Grumman. And he's worked his ass off to work there, right? But I, for so long, tried to push him to do my business, right? Mm-hmm. And I would hear him say, Monique, it's not for me. Like, this is what I love to do. And for so long, it took me like, what do you mean? Why don't you want to be your own boss, right? And then it took me a minute to understand that. Yeah. So now we respect both worlds, right? It's like a 9 to 5 is great, and I understand. So I see the passion within his job. He's like, I don't see it like that. I see it as like, I love what I do.
Yeah.
Right? And then so vice versa. Well, I love what I do. And if we just come together and accept that, then we'll all be...
Let me go deeper on that. So he loves what he does because the company takes care of him, treats him the way he wants to be treated. Compare to other companies that don't do that. That should make you strive to be that kind of person where my employees are happy where they're at. Even if they don't want to, let's say even if they choose to be a boss later on, or this is the field that they want to go to, your job is to do that, is to make sure that your employees feel good about themselves. Because then in the end, they're like, I love where I work.
Yeah.
Just like your husband.
And that's so true, because me and my sister are together, and we're always talking about the energy, and we talk about how we make each other feel, because it's, we're sisters. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we'll bring home stuff to work, to the cat, and I'm like, we can't be like that, right? We have to make this a happy place. So then now we've been in this kind of like checking each other, like, hey, that's not here, and it's, and it makes it so much happier to work with one another as sisters, because it's like, oh, wow, this is all we need to do, just have a conversation, and we're a happy place. I'm like, I love them. I tell her, I'm like, I can't believe we weren't having fun like this before. But again, it's like learning that. It's like being the happy face, happy place, and just having that relationship, like you said, like being a great person, and then it kind of brings that out on you where it goes into other people, and they love to be there. Yeah, because I think that's what I always get from people that go to Uptown Vibe. It's like, it's the people we are that.
Yeah, you're so like people like, oh, when you go up there, you're so friendly. It's so like positive. It feels good, And then for someone, some people who don't usually get that, they're just like, whoa, this is like a lot, but it's not. It's like, this is a normal thing. Like, it should be a norm. It should be everywhere. Yeah, it should be everywhere. But it's not. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Like, for me, when I have my employees, I told Anthony, like, I remember one time I was taking a nap, and I was like, oh, I need to take a nap. I've been on the computer for too long. And I'm taking a little nap, and I'm just like, you know what? When we have employees, we're going to have nap time. Like, love that. It is part of our contract. It's going to be like, you have to take a nap time. And we'll make a room to be just nap time. Like, I literally...
think Google does that.
Google does that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And I told him, like, we should do that, because if we feel like, okay, we need to just chill. Even Anthony has to, like, sit down, scroll on the phone and stuff. Like, I'm like, well, if I feel that way, my employees must feel that way too. Exactly. So it's like, no, I need them to feel like, productive too, but also like lay back and chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The one thing I did learn about where I worked before was that you are responsible of doing your own work. And that helps so much. A lot of places don't do that. A lot of places like micromanage you. And that sucks, because even if you're trying to become an entrepreneur or anything like that, you're in those standards. Yeah. Somebody making sure you're doing everything right. And where I worked was like, no, you need to take care of it. Like, you start from beginning and end it. Like, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to, like, help you out. You have this amount of time of experience. You should already know how to do it. And I love that, because it made me feel very independent. Like, no, I got to take care of this.
Yeah. So did you choose the career for that, like, on purpose, or it just kind of fell in?
I fell in.
Oh, I love that.
I was like, no, I fell in. It all happened, I think it was ZipRecruiter.
Yeah. Well,
and awesome. They found me, and I became, I was like at first I was the office ad, and then they liked how I worked, so they're like, well, how about you want to become like an ophthalmologist, assistant? And I was like, oh yeah, cool, whatever, I'll do that. And I started doing that, and that's where it trickled down to like working in the eye industry, like, yeah. Not that I wanted to.
Right.
Yeah, but I had to, because, again, bills.
Yeah.
Family. I had to take care of that. Because, yeah, if I go back to that, I get paid really good. Like.
Yeah. No, I know. I've heard. Yeah.
But do I want to? No.
Yeah, no. It's sometimes, I think I was sharing the other day at Mamba, because sometimes at the end of our workouts, we love to share with the community what we do and what we offer. Mm-hmm. And we were saying that, because because, you know, they asked me how much I made now compared to then, right? Of course, a huge pay cut, but I explained to them is that it's not about the money, it's about time.
Yeah.
So it's like when people realize how valuable time is, I think they would stop worrying about the money. Like, yeah. And money eventually comes with the time. Like,
I always say money comes and goes. You have to, when you have that mindset, money will come and it will go. And the only reason people are rich is because they're tight with their money and they don't want to share with anybody else. For me, it's sort of like the karma. I share, I give, it will come back to me. That's the energy it's going to be here, back and forth.
Right.
And that's the thing people need to know. Like, yeah, it's come and go, and go. That's what it is.
Yeah. And that's why, like, it's so funny you say that, because in our within the girls and I, we're always like, well, like, let's say I want to pay something for you, right? And you're like, no. And I'm like, no, don't block your blessings and don't block mine, because from the bottom of my heart, I want to give to you.
Yeah.
And it's like that saying where, like, the more you give, the more you receive. Like,
yeah. No, you're right.
It's a beautiful. I love it.
You're right.
And I think I go back to, like, bringing that up where it's like, a lot of people aren't willing to receive that way because they're not used to it, right? And everyone's like, oh, no, well, now I owe you something, right?
No.
Yeah, so it's like bringing that back where it's like, no, you're allowed to receive love too, receive gifts too, without thinking you owe me something in return.
Yeah, no, I love that, because I am like that. I love to give gifts and do that. How much do I love Anthony to give gifts? Like, and I don't expect in return. Like, for me, like some flowers. If I get flowers from Anthony, I don't care about that. If he gives me a beautiful letter or little notes, that's way more like for me, I appreciate that more, because I know for a fact that you actually took time to, like, do this. Aww. Like, anybody can go to the store and buy some roses, and it's beautiful and they're wrong. If you like that, you like that. But for me, it's just like the little things. Yeah. I love the little things, but I'm not expecting. Right. You know, it's those expectations, you know, and people don't get that. Like, they're not used to it.
And it's funny that you say that. Like, have you ever read the book, The Five Languages of Love?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I always recommend that book to everyone, because I truly believe that book explains people's different personalities. And I feel like that's why we fall short in relationships.
I read it because this one right here was like, do you know about this? And I'm like, well, I skimmed through it. And then I finally, like, actually was going through the Audible books. And I was like, all right. And he's like, well, I'll tell you my language. And I was like, oh, okay, this is mine.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out really good.
Yeah.
I think yours is physical, and then mine is more verbal. Mine's between verbal and physical. And his is physical and verbal, but it's in that way. That means his physical is higher than his verbal. Mine is verbal and physical.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm always giving him affirmations, like good stuff, but I'm also, like, remembering, all right, he's physical, so I gotta, like, hug him and kiss him and do all these things.
Yeah.
And he knows, like, I want to hear it. Like, he knows it, because I'm just like, he's like, I love you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. That's what I needed to hear. Thanks.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But I love that book,
what's
because
yours?
Me to give is gifts. Like,
I
like
you're
to
a giver.
show, but I'm a giver.
Yeah.
And then to receive is acts of service. So, like, I know we have all 5, but my main, like, my top one is acts of service. So, like, if you make something super easy for me throughout my day, because I'm already, like, a crazy running person everywhere, I think it's, like, the best thing. Like, I love to receive, which I learned is, like, the hardest love language, because we're constantly needing someone to, like, do things for us to show us that they love us. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm sorry. So sometimes I even find, like, oh, no, it's okay. But then I'm like, but that's how I like to be loved, right? Because it's like a constant giving type of love.
But we're so conditioned with, like, no, it's okay, it's
okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
We have to uncondition that.
Uncondition that, yeah. And I literally just had, like, a meeting with one of my mentors last week where she said that, because I was like, I have an amazing girl in my team, and she's just, like, such a giver, but it's like I put this thing in my head where it's like, oh my gosh, like, how do I pay her back, right? Like, she's doing so much, and she's like, but why do you have that in your head?
Like you have to pay them back?
Like, and then she's like, learn to just receive it. Like, just receive it. Like, if that's what She's like, you're such a good person. This is what is being given to you. Yeah. Stop thinking you don't deserve that. Like, why do you keep thinking you don't deserve that?
Yep, that's
and
a
it
big
goes
thing.
back to us loving ourselves with anything, like with the career we choose, with the relationships we have, with the friendships we have, with how we talk to ourselves, the things we do for ourselves. Like when I first started being an entrepreneur, I stopped caring for myself. I'm this thing where like I love to get my nails done and, you know, kind of do like this pampering thing, like my hair or like, you know, my eyebrows or everything. I literally stopped doing those things. So I stopped loving myself because I was just so busy. But it's like, no, it's those little things that you need to do for yourself to give you that back. Yeah. To give you that focus back, that energy back, that excitement, right? Or even
you have to treat yourself.
Yes.
And not feel guilty about it.
Exactly. Or even like me for like when I'm losing my mind, right? I feel like I stopped, you know, going hiking, and those are things for me that I'm just like, feed me, like give me that energy back to be able to be a light for somebody else. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like I was finding myself drained and unmotivated and unhappy, and it's just like, well, why? Like, well, you know, you get in this phase, like, why do I feel this way? This is what I wanted, right? And so it was so beautiful to talk to my mentor and remind myself or her remind me. It's like, well, what do you do to give your soul back, to give you your energy back? And I was like, well, I used to do this, and that. She's like, well, why aren't you doing it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so exhausted, or I just feel like, oh no, I don't deserve that time. I'm not where I want to be. I need to hurry up and work. And it's like, no, like this isn't, it's not a race. It's a marathon. Like, take your time. Like, you know, every day is your best. Every day is your best.
Say that again. It's not a race.
It's not a race. It's a marathon. Yes. And we get so stuck in that, right? Because of the, you know, just how everything is, like the community, the world, like society, our parents, our friendships. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, well, we've been in it a year and a half and they're not seeing me like be a millionaire, right? And it's just like, it's not about that. Like,
it's not about that.
It's not about that.
It's not about that. Like, honestly, maybe our wealth is not there, but you know what? We're probably a lot better off than where you're at. And I'm not trying to say anything negative, but it's just like, I'm probably better off. My mental state, my physical state, my surroundings, my environment, my friends are probably way better than where you're at.
Right.
You know? Because a lot of people, when they're negative with you, it's a mirroring kind of thing. They're just mirroring themselves to you. And you're just like, and it feels kind of awkward because you're just like, well, that's not really me, but why would you say that? It's because it's them. And it's trippy, but it's them.
It is. It's insane when you start kind of doing that inner work and seeing that. I'm like, wait, what? And I think that's the problem with us nowadays. We do take a lot of things personal. It's like, wow, I am that way. Yeah. But it's like, no, like, you're not. Sometimes people are just putting their baggage on you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when we come to a place of figuring out who we are and what we stand for, when they do things like that, then we kind of just slap it off. Like, oh, that isn't me. I know who I am. Yeah. Like, you know, even if I'm going through the ups and downs and the trials and, you know, some days I'm like in the greatest mood and then the next day I'm not, like, you know, so even in those days.
No, like, for example, when you have somebody working under you, people need to know automatically, do not have the expectations that they're going to be in the same mentality as you, because it's very different. You're the boss, they're the employees. They're there because they love your environment, they love how you are, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be doing the same thing or thinking the same thing you're doing. That's where you have to, like, see the boundaries. That's where you have to, like, know, okay, you know, they're not going to be there, but I can give them the tools and they can use however they want to with those tools and see what happens. Yeah. There is expectations they must hit, but I know for a fact it's never going to be where I'm at. Because that's the truth. It's not. Like, me and Anthony, I've noticed that we work so good together is because we respect each other where we're at. We respect that, you know, he's his own boss, I'm my own boss, and together we have our business. But if he needs to do something, he does it. I have no saying on it because that's him. Same thing for me, you know. And a lot of people out there need to know that, you know, it's not easy.
It's not. It's not. And you bring that up, and I love that you guys know that. That was a huge challenge between me and my sister because we were both bosses. We're both bosses.
Your sisters.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you know, me being, because I'm a very, like, I would say I'm like controlling in a sense where like, no, this is this way and like that would look better that way, right? And so she would explain to me, it's like, well, I don't think like you and I don't see it like you. And it took me a long time to be like, I have to see her where she works and what she's good at, and opposed to me telling her, opposed to me always, and it was like she was telling me what I was doing to kind of not make us work hand in hand. And it's like I would be like, well, it's because you don't know, right? Like you, but how do I know, right? And it's just like that learning growth, right? The learning growth of like, you know what, sis, you're right. So now I have this habit of like, hey, well, don't forget to, I know. And I'm like, okay. And you know, it's just like okay, you're right, you know. So it's just respecting her how she works and respecting how I work.
You have to. Yeah,
and
it's not like, easy.
It's not.
It's like, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I have to, like, yesterday we were on the car and we're driving about, you know, there's an SFS festival next year, and he's a curator for it, and I'm managing for the first time like ever. So I feel
I love that. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm just like, all right, so who are we gonna have for team? And I had mentioned, well, how about this person? She would be amazing for this and this and that. And he's like, well, I mean, she introduced all her stuff in there, like she had her video and all stuff. Like, don't you think it would be sort of like a demotion thing? I was like, no, like not even. You know how great this would be, because people are going to see that she has submitted her stuff and now she's part of the group. She's part of this great community now. Like, see what happens. You see the opportunities you can get. So when he's all like, oh yeah, right, that's what you were saying. So no, yeah, he was just like, yeah, let's definitely approach her and talk to her. And I was like, yeah, well, that's how you have to see it.
Yeah, it's I told him, like, it's an opportunity for everyone.
Yes. So I'm like, don't see it as a demotion or anything. See the possibilities of what it is.
Exactly.
Like, if she does this, people are gonna see like, oh damn, she just entered and now she's part of it.
Exactly.
Crazy, you know? That's how you have to look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And everything as an opportunity.
Yeah,
everything.
Exactly.
Even the smaller, like I could be like, why am I doing, like, for example, pop-ups, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a storefront. Why am I doing pop-ups? No, right? It's like, why are you doing pop-ups? You have a storefront.
Someone would ask you like, why? For me, I'll be like, you gotta do it because
amazing,
it's a community.
Right? It's a community.
You get to meet
share,
other people.
Exactly.
Like,
and it's like,
you're growing your circle
like
bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we get excited, right? Like, oh, new people, like introducing what you have to offer, who you are, how like you can change people's lives. Like, that's the thing in Herbalife. Like, we're always so excited to share, because it's like you never know how it's gonna hit, right? Like, you never know. Like, I have an amazing team, and you never know what an extra $500 will do to someone. You never know by me saying, hey, you can put aloe in your water, what it can do to their health, right?
Yeah.
Or something motivational, you can say it in a day or the share post, what it can do to someone's mental health. Like, it's so powerful, the sharing, the talking, the exposing yourself, not just thinking, well, I'm a storefront, I got it made, and I'm cool, and I'm set.
No. That's what people don't get. Even if it's a storefront, you're still trying to hustle and push, get your circle
like a 24/7, and I wouldn't have it another way, because people will say, like, well, you know, you work day and night more than you would before, and it's like, but I love it.
But we choose that.
Yeah,
like,
it's like, it's a different work.
Like, not that we knew getting into it that was going to be like that, but the more it happened, the more we're just like, even though we have shitty days, we're like, I'd rather have this than
it's like, we have a
else.
slow month. Okay, well, get your ass up and, like you
know,
what can we
That's
do?
Where we exercise our muscles in our brain and be like, where can we push this out?
And I think the beautiful part of that is when you're, how can I say it? Like, when you're offering that to someone and you're working hard, right? And what was I going to with this? It's so important. I swear I had it, like, I wanted to, like, say it right away. So it's like, you're working hard, right? And then you have, like, your team, right? And they do it too. It's so epic when you do it together, and it's epic, like, to be able to provide that. Oh my God, I had something so God. Why did I forget? That's so insane. Like, you know, you're just rolling. You're like, I want to share this. I want to share this. But I think, like, the best part is, like, just having to offer that to other people. Like, to be able to do what I do, because it's like, yeah, I'm a boss, but then I get to have another girl be a boss with me.
Yeah.
Like, we get to be bosses.
That's actually
together.
like the best thing to do. Like, I love it when Anthony and I go out and then we're just like, oh yeah, we run our own business. Like, we do this and that. And they're just like, whoa. Like, yeah. And I love that because for me, I always sound like, I feel like we're like a power couple or something when we're out. Like,
no, you guys do walk in like a power couple.
And I always sound like, every time we're out and everything. Yeah. And then recently, I remember he always introduced me as like, oh, this is my girlfriend, Reyna Torres. And I was like, you know, when we're like, you know, getting to know people, like, it's cool, but if we're like in events where there's like work stuff, can you like say I'm your girlfriend, but also like, oh, I have photography, business, blah, blah, blah. I was like, because when I'm introducing to you people, I'm just like rolling up like, yeah, this is my man, this is what he does, this is exactly what he like, yeah, he's the badass, like, director, that. Like, can you do that for me too? And he's like, oh, yeah. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong. Like, you throw out the girlfriend thing, but, like, when we're networking, like, you throw out, like, also what I do.
Yeah.
Because then I'm, like, I told him, because then I feel like I have to be like, oh, yeah, I have my own photography business, too. And I have to, like, put it in there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, you can do that already. Like,
yeah.
if you're introducing me.
Yeah, already
there.
Yeah,
so I was just like, you know, I remember trying to approach to him in a nice way where it didn't come off in a negative thing, which I don't think it did, right? Right? He's like shaking now, like, no, it didn't.
Like, you basically did all the work for us, and now we just move on to the next conversation.
No, because it's funny because I when we have conversations with people, he'll be there, and I'll come in and talk, and then I'll push. Like, I've noticed I'll push the conversation to, like, oh, yeah, let's do this, or, like, oh, yeah, let's do that. And I tell him, like, oh, yeah, you know, you can, like, reach out to them, do this and that, and it just pushes out, like, my personality. When I talk, I'm just like, hey. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
no, I love your personality. It's so bubblish.
Yes, that's what I've got. Bubblish. Bubblicious.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm like strawberry flavor.
Like, even if you're having, I feel like even when you're having a bad day, you come and you're like, hey, and it's like, oh, okay, I can't have a bad day anymore, because you just bring off that vibe, which I love. I love that.
I'll have bad days. Like I told you earlier today, like, I've been having kidney problems, and I've been, like, really on my ass about, like, okay, I really need to start doing this. But I don't let it, like, kill it, because in the same time, it's like, if you're going to have a negative day, you're going to be negative all day. Yeah, so it's just, like, put a smile. It's like my psychologist professor, Dr. Duff, Kimberly Duff. She's like, there's an experiment done where you smile all day. Even if you're feeling like shit, smile. Because by the end of the day, that's how you're going to feel. That emotion that you just expressed. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, there's been research that actually works. So I was like, so smile.
Yeah, you're like literally just smiling all day.
I remember her saying that. I was like, really? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, where is this at? And she showed me the article. I was like, okay, I will try.
Fine. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I think it is true, because even I'm smiling because, you know, at the cafe, like, even when we're having a hard time, right? We're like,
you have to smile.
You have to smile, and, like, you know, and it's like, you, at the end, you're just like, wow, it wasn't that of a bad day. So I think it would be great. Yep. I heard another one where it's like, Tony Robbins, if you've ever done any of his seminars, he talks about, when you're having a shitty day in the morning, you can't seem to get out of it, just kind of shake your booty, and then you just laugh, right? Because, like, they're all shaking their booty, right? So you would just, like, literally do a little dance and shake your booty. He's like, you'll literally, like, make yourself laugh, and you'll release those endorphins that, like, put you in a better mood. And it's like, wow, something's just so small like that.
I do a stupid thing. I go in the bathroom, and I have, like, this big mirror, and I look at myself, and I'm like, bitch, you gotta, like, do this. And I'm just, like, making faces, and I'm like, oh, you're so stupid. And I walk out, and I'm like, all right, cool. Okay.
You're like, I'm in a better mood.
Yeah,
I love that.
I usually do that when I go to the bathroom.
I love that. Right, whatever we have to do to make ourselves feel better.
Now,
I think that's the beautiful thing. It's like,
what would you say to other people, like, when it comes to them being, like, not in the best space ever? What would be, like, what's your mantra that might help other people, you know, or just started and then they'll, like, you know, organically create their own?
Honestly, at least what helps me, right, is the self-talk and doing things that puts you in a happy mood. So, like, for me, self-talking, sometimes, like, you know, we have, like, thousands of things going throughout our head, right? Yeah. And sometimes when we're just so distracted, our mind takes over. and we're not focusing on the thoughts we're actually giving ourselves.
Yep.
So I even actually did
it's like
this
ADHD
morning.
In our head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So I even did it this morning, for example. Like, I have so much going on with just, like, you know, the business and, you know, our numbers and all that, right? And I just start thinking, and then I'm just like, dude, I'm just allowing my mind to roll.
Yeah.
And then so I checked myself, and it's an exercise every day. It's not like where I'm a professional. I've been doing it for years. It's like literally an everyday work.
I think even professionals still
do it. Still do it.
Yeah.
We just had a seminar this weekend, and literally the guy is amazing, doing like impact in his community in other countries, and he was. I think what gave me that safe space was listening to someone hear him, like, he's an over 7-figure earner, and he's still a person. Like, he's just like, I think about this, that I have to talk to myself every day. Every day we have to talk to ourselves. So it's just like, I checked myself. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just, you know, and just doing the positive affirmations and talking to yourself and looking at yourself. I think the scariest thing is people look at you, like, we look at ourselves in the mirror, but we just, like, look to see how we look, right? We're not genuinely looking at ourselves and having that talk. So I think what helps me is having that talk in the morning with myself in the mirror.
I do that all the time, every freaking day.
Yeah, and I swear I've even gotten to this point where, like, you're literally looking at yourself and talking, and then you just start crying. It's just like, wow, like, that acceptance that you give yourself, right? And just giving the affirmations and believing it. It's not just saying, it's like believing that and having that feeling.
Even if you
yourself.
don't feel like you believe it, just say it.
Just say it.
Yeah.
And it's say if you have to say it out loud and scream it, that's done amazing. And I have this weird thing too when I'm really having a tough time. I have to hike. Like, I'm something about the trees and being out there and just, like, alone and, like, in my own thoughts. Like, I have this thing where, like, I go to a certain hike and I get up there, and if I'm by myself, I literally just, like, scream and cry. Like,
no way.
Because, you know, we're always holding stuff in, and then the world's crazy, and it's just, like, sometimes people don't understand you. Sometimes people can't relate. Sometimes people don't know the self-doubt talk that you have within yourself.
Don't.
Sorry.
I know, I get emotional, but it's true.
And then that's what's usually, like, helped me kind of come back and be like, Monique, you're doing a great job. Like, dude, why are you being so hard on yourself?
And this is funny because another person here, Ray Cole, was talking about how I told her, like, you know, you look like you're doing so much great, you know, in social media. And she's like, really? It's like, I don't feel that way. And we all relate to that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you look like people, if you go to her social media and her Instagram, she looks like she's doing, she's like this boss bitch out there. But now you're really seeing, like, no, it's not always like that. Like, we all struggle, and it's normal, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like, people need to know, like, we can talk about this among each other, you know? Because it's like, you talking to me about this, it makes me feel like, oh, god damn, like, I'm not the only one with this, and it's so empowering.
Yeah, and...
Like, it makes me, like, I have to go... I go hiking, too, but I like hiking with my kids. But there's one time where, like, my mom and I, like, really just went at it. I was like, I'm going to go hiking. And when hiking, I did that, where I just sat down, I just started bawling out. I was just like, I need to,
it's like, something about being out there. I don't know. It's weird. Like, it's just, like, this feeling. And sometimes when even when it's late, right, like, I was just like, oh, I'll just have to go just for a small one, and then go, and then just being out there, it's just like, it just releases something, and that's what helps me. Like, and then getting back, I don't know if you journal, but I love to journal.
Yeah, journaling is the best thing to
if
do.
If nobody journals, it's like the most craziest, insane thing, the feeling, like, you genuinely, like, when I'm journaling and letting out whatever, I could be mad at someone, I can say what I wanted to say, or, like, whatever, to my journal, and then after, you just feel this sense of relief. Like you let go.
You do.
And I compared, I'm like, maybe it's all in my like, me, right? And then, so there were times where I was just like, I'm not gonna journal for a month, and I'm gonna see where I'm at. And no, it's like, you're bottling everything in, because sometimes you can't say what you want to say.
You can't vent out to someone.
Yeah, or, like, sometimes it's like, I'm upset. I'm not going to go and be upset at you. It's just something within myself. So I got to write it down and say how I felt, and then let it go.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, you just feel so much better.
You know what's good, too, that I realized journaling? I have picked up a few books that tell you what to write. Because there are people who say, I want to journal. I'm like, no, get a book that literally tells you, like, okay, So, like, what was your day today? Or what color or what memory do you have? And you write it down. And that kind of, like, starts the kick up. If you're not a person who likes to journal, like, do that. Find a book that tells you, like, ask you questions that you have to write down. And that's not, like, forcing you, but it's kind of, like...
making you think.
Yeah, making you think. And then you're just like, wait a minute, I kind of like this feeling. Mm-hmm. So I've come about with books like that where I'm just like, oh, I like this. Like, all right, cool. Like,
you're like, I didn't even think about that part, but you know what?
I literally have like 4 different journals that are all like the burn book thing, the burn notebook. Like I have that, and then I have one that questions, like just random questions, like how to journal, how to write, basically. And the other one is random questions, like it's just a weird random questions, and then my normal journal that I just write down. So, yeah, you don't have to go for 4 people, but, like... Yeah.
No, I have a few, too. I have, like, personal development, gratitude. It's insane. Sometimes I'm like, dude, I have so many. So, it's, like, a gratitude for morning and night. It's, like, you know, the one where you're kind of just letting out a lot. And then it's the affirmation one. I
just thought of, like, I have another one that's more like it's, like, it looks like a witchy kind of book. And I'm just like, this is where I put all my manifestation. I want to have this happening, so... Yeah.
And it's amazing you say that, you know, because when I was able to quit my job, I literally, like, I was complaining a lot before that, right? And then I would write down, like, you know what, Monique, you should be grateful you have a job. Not a lot of people have what you have, right? Like, going back to thinking like that, it's just like, come on, dude, like, be grateful. So then writing down, like, every day I'm grateful, because I do that too. Every day in the morning I'm like writing down what I like, as if I already have it. I already, you know, own this, I already own that, I've already done this, I've changed this. Like, so every day I was like, I'm so grateful for my job. And then I wrote down the reason I was, and then you know, and then I'm grateful for my, you know, full-time. I wasn't even full-time yet, like with my fortune, right? My what I do now. And I was like, I'm so grateful for being full-time. So it's just like those things that that really do help, and that's kind of what's helped me. Like, people take those little things, like, I don't know if for granted, or maybe they don't know about it, but just those little things, like when I hear podcasts and, you know, millionaires talk about how, like, it's like still their everyday routine.
It's a whole different mindset that we do not teach out there. Which even if you had a 9 to 5, you should still do that.
Still do it.
You should still do it.
Yeah,
you should still do it. Doesn't mean you're gonna be an entrepreneur, but it just means like still do
whatever in your field, whatever you know, whatever you want to spark within your life. Whether it be like, I want a new promotion. Well, thank you for this new promotion, right? People don't know how to do stuff like that. So I love just sharing that with my girls. Like, my girls were like, no way. And then just writing it, and then tripping out later. We're like, dude, I literally wrote down, I said I wanted this, and now I have it. And it's like, is that not insane? Like, our minds are so powerful, and we have the power to manifest anything we want in our lives. And I just really do believe that, but you gotta believe it. And then take action for it.
It's like Albert Einstein says, like, the energy that you are actually taking out will be returned back to you. It's energy going back and forth. So the energy you're gonna go throwing out there, it's gonna come back. You know, it goes with the negative too. Like, if you're gonna be negative, it's gonna come back to you. Yeah, it's a bouncing thing here.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking of this movie. Have you seen Frankenstein? It's a Disney movie. It's Frankenstein or Franken Dog or something.
Oh,
the
wiener,
the wiener dog. Yes. So then in that movie, if you catch, like, going back on energy, how the energy he had when he wanted to bring his dog back to life, and he brought it back to life, right? Like, it was like this intense energy, and if you see it in the movie, it's like everything's like so much energy, right? And he brings them back. So then when one of his classmates asked him to bring back a fish, it wasn't the same energy, so the fish disappeared. And then he goes back to ask the professor, what was the difference between, you know, this time and that time? He's like, well, where were you at? What did you feel as you were doing it? That's why it's so powerful when you actually write down or you say the things you mean. Like, the meaning and the energy you give towards it is what gives it to you. It's like, I'm not going to be like, well, I just want to be an entrepreneur.
Well,
like,
that's the energy you're putting out.
That's the energy
Guess what? That's the energy that's going to be returned back to you.
So it's like so powerful. Energy's so powerful.
Like, my energy right now for this is that I want this podcast, like I told people, it's not for financial purposes. For me, it's for a platform for women to see, to grow. I want this to grow. I want this to be like where, like, people feel like, oh man, I want to get to the next episode. I want to see what the next person is going to talk about. Like, what is that person going to help me with? You know, that's what I want. A platform where we can talk about this that's not being talked about.
Yeah, and I love that because then you give us the opportunity to share that because we don't know what everybody else is going through.
Yeah, because I'm sure you've sat down and talked to people, interviewed and stuff, and they haven't asked you like, girl, how you doing?
Yeah.
You're just like, either if it is, you'll be like, well, it's amazing. We're doing more profits. We're doing this. No, I'm like, no, what is really going on? Yeah, exactly. And nobody really asks you that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of mental work. Yes. That's why I love that you were doing this because it's like, no, people forget about, we lose our minds. Like, we really go through something and it's just like, it's like a whole new growth. And I would even say like rebirth or something or like a new beginning, and it's like, wow, I didn't know I would feel this way. I didn't know I was gonna fall apart. I thought everything was gonna be dandy, right? And it's just like, no,
we look like dandy,
it's dandy, but it's really not. You know, it's like so many things that come in place, and everybody's experience is different, and what they go through, right?
And guess what? Guess what? It's normal. Mm-hmm. That should be a normal thing. It shouldn't be like
frowned upon, right? Yeah. It's like, well, you're weak. You're weak because you're falling apart, and it's like, no, I'm actually strong because I'm allowing myself to fall apart and not acting like I have it.
What is it that they say? You fall to get your ass back up again, regardless of how many times. Exactly. Yeah, this should be like a norm thing.
And I think people forget that. I think people forget even about back then, like so many entrepreneurs, so many people just to even work, right? Like the things they had to go through, like just to, cry. Like I have a friend, he's trying to become a nurse, right? And he's like literally falling apart all the time, and it's like, and it's a 9 to 5, right? And it's just like, it's still the same falling apart. It's just you can't talk about it because it's like, oh, well then maybe you can't handle it. Maybe this job isn't for you, right? And it's like, it's sad. No, it is. And it's like you would love to be a nurse or anything else you would want to be within your field that fulfills your purpose. But when you're weak about it, it's like, well, maybe it's not for you. It's like,
it's not weak. It's not weak. It's rebuilding ourselves and strong. What happens with muscles?
It's wisdom.
What's muscles? What do? And you work out. Exactly. What happens to your muscles? They break. They tear. They tear micro tears.
Exactly.
And why are we micro tearing our muscles?
To regrow them.
And micro tearing, it fucking hurts.
Yeah, hurts. You're literally crying. I know when you're like
tearing. Yes. People don't understand. You're tearing your muscles apart. Exactly. It hurts. Like you're crying. You're like, I can't fucking move. Yeah. But what happens then? What's the effect? What happens in the end? Yeah. It gets better.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna do it again.
Exactly. Yeah. So just sharing that. I love this whole thing.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I definitely want to do another podcast for the next season and see what's going on with you.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And see hey, what's up?
I'm still falling apart.
But it's okay. It's like we're tearing our muscles. We're getting back there. We're getting better.
Exactly. Yeah. Every time you tear, it's a new result.
Well, I want people to know where they can find you. And where you're located, so you can definitely say that right now.
Okay, awesome. So I'm here in Uptown Whittier, and I'm Uptown Vibe. We are located on Greenleaf. Our address is 7203 Greenleaf Avenue, Suite C.
Yeah, and then you have a social media.
And I have social media. It's called shape.your.mind. So it's all about the mind. And then our Mamba Fitness is _Mamba_Fitness. So that's our other location. Our gym too. Yeah. So you can find me in all of those.
She has 2 people too. It's not just one.
I know, we're going insane.
That's what we do. We just add more shit to our show.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of opening another one within 3 to 4 months. Yeah. So that's
another which one?
Another location, but we're moving that
which one?
A cafe.
No.
Another cafe. Yeah.
Where?
We're looking at Chino Hills in Ontario. Yeah.
See?
Yeah, I'm so excited. See? Which that's why I'm like, my brain is like, but it's like so worth it.
And it's worth it.
Yeah. It's just, and it's again, it's us teaching people how to do what we do and they can do it themselves.
Yep, exactly.
So it's beautiful. And I can't wait.
Well, you guys have to follow her.
Yes,
and you guys have to literally have her drinks. It's freaking amazing. It's really good. Especially her horchatas. You would think it's horchata. It tastes like horchata, but it's super healthy.
He's all like, yeah.
Producer,
I'm going to teach her how to make it.
Producer Anthony is like, yes, very much. Yeah, she's going to teach me how to make it. Yeah. He's all like, oh, yes. Oh, my God. So I could have had that today. I'm like, again.
I know, right? I know. I have a bunch of clients, they ordered just for the horchata. And I'm like,
well, you have to explain, what does the horchata do?
Okay, so the horchata is amazing, guys. It's a meal replacement. And it is a fat reducer. It has our fat reducer shot, which helps with stubborn fat, like in our stomach area. And then it keeps you full longer. But then it also has our tea. Our tea is green and black tea. And it's thermogenic and it has antioxidants. So you're also burning calories and it gives you a natural energy. So it's all those three things in one. And
well, you know what?
So good.
I might want to get one so we can like film it and be like, hey,
yeah, like
this is what she's talking about.
This is the healthier version of horchata. Yeah, and it has 21 nutrients.
And it tastes like horchata,
vitamins.
honestly.
Yeah, it does.
It like
tastes
legit
so good.
tastes like horchata.
Yeah.
Not to be like, oh, but it's bougie. No, it tastes like if I went to like the Northgate, and it tastes like I got it from them.
Yeah.
From like pouring it.
Yeah,
from
it's
me.
insane, right?
Yeah,
I know.
it tastes
I love
amazing.
it. Everybody loves it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate everything.
I appreciate you and your time.